The older I get, the 2 p.m. nap becomes bigger.
True. Yeah, no, I'm a full 3 p.m. Like, that is my least favorite time of day.
The crash. It's really real.
Nothing good is happening at 3 p.m.
That's true.
It's always like...
Better to skip through it.
I'm terrible at naps, though, so...
Do you feel worse when you wake up after a nap?
It depends. No. Okay. I mean, in the first, 5 minutes, I'm like... Why am I here at all?
Where am I?
Where am I? Yeah. What time is it? But yeah, normally if I nap successfully, it's like a 2 to 3 hour nap.
Oh, okay. So you're asleep.
I have to be asleep, or else I'm just laying there for an hour.
When I try to nap, it's like everything that's ever happened in my life is going through my head for 45 minutes, and then I wake up a worse person.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I honestly have this Aura ring.
Oh,
because it tells me when I'm actually sleeping, and it tells you the minute you fall asleep and the minute you wake up.
Like heart rate, I guess.
Heart rate.
Okay.
Stress levels. Tells me when I'm stressed.
I would be breaking that thing.
You would think. See, yesterday was a particularly stressful day, and I was so excited to get on my Aura Ring app and be I was stressed for 7 hours. It told me I was stressed for an hour. I'm like, okay, girl.
The gaslighting.
We need to talk. Yeah.
Wow.
Because that's not right.
I should look into
important stuff. Yeah.
I started sleepwalking. So, yeah, a little bit of a flex of mine recently.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Have you gotten into any trouble?
No. Well, so the first night I ever slept over at my girlfriend's house, she was awoken in the middle of the night to me screaming in the middle of the room.
Perfect.
But she still likes me. So It could have been trouble. Ended in a love story.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
But maybe with that ring, we'll figure out why.
Love that. Sponsored by Aura Ring.
Yeah, literally.
I wish.
Hi, this is Ones to Watch Chef's Choice. I'm Abby Kenna, and today I'm joined by Rebecca Black. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You have a great ASMR voice that you just slipped into.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm really listening, so.
That's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming out so early in the morning.
Anytime.
Same time next week.
Sure, whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Well, thanks for joining us for our little taste-making podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to be going through a 3-course meal of your music.
Sounds good.
And to start, I'd love to know what the appetizer is to you. If someone had never heard of you before, what's the first song you would want them to listen to?
It's hard because I actually feel like over the course of my career, I've made so many different kinds of music, and I think even in my new project now, there's so many different kind of I do think it's the most cohesive thing I've ever done, but there are definitely so many different little flavors and objectives of every song.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I think I would pick Tears in My Pocket.
Okay.
Off this new record.
Baby, you can keep your tears in my pocket. Take me deep into your fears, it's hypnotic. You can keep your tears in my pocket, in my pocket.
That was the first song that we made for this project, and I just think it lands in the middle of kind of the pop objectives I have, and the songs that are more of a stylistic journey for me.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's also one of my more vulnerable moments. Yeah, I mean, it's a song about vulnerability, I guess. So
sure. Yeah. I'd love to hear the story of how that song was written, and it's cool to hear that was the first one for this album too.
Yeah, I actually, up until the very final bit of track listing I was doing, it was always the first song that opened up the project too.
Oh, cool.
And I wrote that song. It was about a year after I had finished writing my debut record, and I never really stopped writing, other than actually right now I'm maybe this is the first time I'm not actively writing. But after I finished my debut, I kind of kept doing sessions and kept experimenting, and there's always that kind of feeling of momentum you want to try to grab onto. But I did about a year of dud sessions, where I was just trying to find the direction of where I was trying to go sonically. Mainly, I knew that I wanted to feel really evolved from like the last project. I didn't want to feel like I was making B-sides.
Yeah.
And I felt like for a while I was kind of like trapped in that land of like, where am I going? What am I doing? What do I want all this to mean? Because my debut was like such a labor of like experimentation, in the sense that it's like also a little bit all over the place, which we love her for.
I love that. I think it's cool to watch an artist find their sound.
Yeah, it's been a definitely like interesting journey for me, because I've kind of worked backwards for quite a while with the start that I had. And Tears was the first session I did with a group of people that are like all over this record, which was Marcus Anderson and Chris Leon and Lauren Aquilina.
Awesome.
Who I met Lauren at like the very end of the writing process for Let Her Burn, which was my debut album. We had like 2 days back to back booked, and I was I like knew all of them at this point. And had worked with them, I think all individually, except for maybe Marcus. And I forget exactly how we landed on like sonically where we were, other than I'm pretty sure it was just kind of like a kismet immediate. We all wanted to do the same kind of thing.
I love that cosmic moment. Yeah.
It's really awesome in a studio session. And I think we all just have similar taste and you know, the same kinds of things that we get excited by. And I remember kind of like kikiing with Lauren in the corner on what we wanted to write about. And I just had this experience where I was traveling, I was on tour, and my girlfriend at the time, I think I had like lent her either a jacket or a pair of pants to wear to this. Actually, is going to get darker than I thought. Sorry. I left her with like something of mine to wear to a funeral. And I was traveling and just like put on the jacket or the pants or whatever, not thinking about it, and like reached into a pocket. And this was like a particularly obviously tough time for her and emotional time. And I like reached in, and like the pockets were like full of wadded up tissues and full of these little like moments of this experience for her that it had been like a little bit of time since then too. So it felt like, oh my gosh, I have this like physical piece of emotion with me of my girlfriend who is halfway across the world. And there was just like this experience of feeling like I was like literally like stepping into her shoes of her vulnerability and of this experience too that I wasn't able to be there for. And so I was just like grappling with all of that and what that experience meant, and like feeling like I had her in my pocket, or like a piece of her that I didn't get to see in my pocket. And so that like idea always stuck with me, and that was what I brought into the studio. And we landed on like Tears in My Pocket as kind of the way to tell the story, and that is basically what the song is about, really like grappling with how you as a partner, or me as a partner, how I even feel about vulnerability and what I get out of it and what I take from it, and my relationship to the person behind it. And also in a way like kind of getting off on another person's sadness in a way of feeling closer to them.
Yeah.
And feeling like you're getting something from something that is so difficult from them. So that's my like long roundabout story of what Tears is about. And like sonically it came together so easily. I remember Marcus just kind of like also kind of went on his own for like 20 minutes and came back with the main synth line that's the chorus of the song. And we all were like, sick, great, put it in.
No notes.
No notes, literally. Yeah. And that song has so much space within it, and taught me so much about like how to approach the rest of this record. So I guess that would be my appetizer.
That's a great place to start. And like I love starting with a more tender moment rather than like the leading single sort of, because you start with the vulnerability and like really getting to know you as a person and a partner, and like what the perspective is for the album. And then I think we get to lead into those like iconic like danceable moments.
Of course. You can't have one without the other.
You can't, but sometimes records do only have one side of things. So it's cool that this is both a cohesive like sonic record, but also like a spectrum of emotions for you.
Yeah.
That you found a good like sonic palette to describe.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I definitely, if I find it really important as I'm like putting together like a track list, and a lot of times that, and with this project in particular, was taking out a lot of songs and a lot of songs that could have been on it. And I just really find it important to have an album or a project that like doesn't sound like all of the same song.
Yeah.
You know, or talk about everything that is all the same.
That's so true. Did you mean to write a record when you went into this? Like, did Tears in My Pocket sort of start like, okay, this is like an album perspective I can lead into and then write from? Or did these songs sort of like find each other?
Tears definitely felt like the North Star in the sense of like, specifically sonically, it felt like the first time throughout like a good year's worth of writing where there was something that I could pull from from a sound perspective. And like lyrically, I know I can kind of like go wherever I want and find the cohesion there. But that was always kind of like the reference point for me of keep going down this rabbit hole.
Right.
And like the next day we wrote another song on the project called Do You Even Think About Me, which is a completely different sound, and originally sounded even way more different than how it does now from the rest of the tracks. And that was always kind of something of like, let's bring it back to this world and find its own kind of unique footing there.
Yeah. What were some of the like sonic influences that you were working off of for the record then?
I was really trying to find my way through like creating things that had space.
Okay. Cool.
And that had silence. So there was a lot of like ambient
cool
moments. I think like there are so many different things that I think I've like over the course of my life pulled influence from like a pop perspective, which like songs are like a huge important piece of what I make, and I'm always looking to like the Madonnas and the Gagas and even like I think there was a lot of gold in like the 2010s like glory day of pop that I love. As far as sound, I think like Daft Punk was a big reference point at some points. Sophie's like always a North Star of mine. Even like Aphex Twin and like Hertz sounds.
Yes. Yeah. No, there's definitely like an art to the production of this record where like that has contributed a lot to the songwriting too, which it's cool hearing about like the songwriters and the producers you worked with because they totally have a unique perspective that you can hear in the music. Yeah.
Everyone who was a part of the songs that made it on this record, I felt like was equally as like down as me and down to make something that wasn't like constrained by the idea of like needing to be digestible or needing to be to have anything but like be able to stand on its own and be something that really like excited all of us. Like that was really special for me in this process. Was hearing from even the writers that I work with, like, this is one of my favorite things I wrote this year.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
That's so cool. And like, especially with my background and relationship with, you know, a lot of different collaborators I've had over the years, like it felt really exciting to be making things that everyone in the room felt excited about and not just like they're like scratching my own itch, you know?
Right.
Or vice versa. They all felt like really strong songs with, you know, like an identity behind them, which is important to me.
That's awesome. Thanks. Okay, well, moving into the identity of your album, Salvation, I would love to know what the entree is to this album era, like the song that sort of best represents this moment in your artistry.
Yeah. I think that if I had to pick one from this era, trust always felt like where Tears in My Pocket, there's a lot of T's on this album, which really bothered me. Making the track listing.
Too mouthy.
Lots of T's and S's. They just sound good. But where Tears in My Pocket was kind of the North Star at the beginning, like Trust felt like we had landed on where this project really stood. And it feels like it just felt like a really new moment for me as an artist. And it felt like I kind of unlocked a sense of confidence in writing at that point that like really guided me through the rest of the project. Like I don't think songs like Sugar Water Cyanide or American Doll would have existed without Trust. And I also have to give credit to the song Salvation too, because that was also like this era where I really think like I unlatched a sense of not taking everything so seriously and not taking like the process of making a song so seriously. I started really playing with different voices and vocal tones and all of a sudden I'm like, why am I rapping?
Literally.
why am I rapping and why do I like it? And why does that feel really good to do and natural? Whereas I think like a year ago, I would have been so afraid to write like such like a campy sexual song.
It's awesome though. Like those are the songs we need. We have so many people taking themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to have like, again, both sides of you. Like that low toned, like singing voice is so cool for you.
Thank you.
Like it makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of like it unlocked just a lot of I think creative freedom to be able to be in those rooms and just try different things out and to like write a chorus that is like literally basically nonsense.
Right.
And to allow myself to do that because I think for so long I had this fear of like if what I am not saying has this like one version of substance, is it valid? And Trust was the first like for sure moment for me where I felt like it stood on its own and like existed in a pop world that I don't think I'd ever tapped into. And when I look at some of my all-time favorite pop songs like Bad Romance and so many others, I mean, Gaga still does this now. Like Abracadabra is
of course
exactly this. And there's just like an earworm quality to it that is undeniable. And I like felt that with Trust. So it was really exciting to see people connect to it.
Right. And like we don't sort of deny Gaga the privilege of being able to sing nonsense because like she believes in it. So obviously like we're going to as well.
And that's the secret to pop.
If you do it 100%, everyone's like, well, yeah, I'd be embarrassed to not believe in you too.
Exactly. Just commit because pop is all about fantasy and pop is all about unseriousness.
Truly.
And that's like one of the greatest gifts in making the kind of music I do. I think for a while there was this like essence of like, and I've talked to other artists about this. If someone asks you like the kind of music you make and you'd be like, it's pop, you know, there was like a feeling of lack of credibility there. And it's, I think we're like now finally in a time where pop is really showcasing what it really means for people and what it does for people and like what it does for the club scene and what it does for queer people. And I think there's like a lot of substance to be found in it outside of just like traditional lyrical content.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Pop music is not empty. Like you just don't get it if you don't get it.
No, and I think there's like moments like where we're in right now as a culture, I think pop, there's a reason why like in the most scary, traumatic, difficult times, like pop music like soars to the forefront.
Exactly.
Because people need it. You need a release and you need something to give you hope. I mean, like this project for me was made in so many different difficult aspects of like my personal life, and just being able to go in and like focus on something that felt euphoric, felt like I was like, that was the one place I was able to tap into that feeling at certain times. And I think that's what like pop has always done to me as a listener too.
That's so cool that you were able to find that sound and that feeling. I would love to talk about the dance video.
Yes.
I think when that went live on Instagram, like it was every story that I swiped by was Rebecca Black Trust.
That's cool. That's cool.
It was cool. How was that journey for you? That video is so sick.
Thank you. It was so just meaningful to me, the way that people responded to that song and video at the same time. It is no easy feat to get a music video across the finish line.
Yeah.
In this state of the industry, especially as an artist. Like, I think what I've learned as I've gotten my feet a little bit more wet in this industry is like, yes, it's an industry about art, but at the end of the day, like it's a job and it's a career, and it's like a profitable industry for so many people, like other than artists a lot of the time. And that's a very fair motivator for it. A lot of people make a living in this industry and need to. And
yes, but it's usually not artists, which is why it's hard to find the money to pay people to do things like this. Yeah,
totally. Artists, like, especially across a certain threshold, obviously there's like the, whatever, whole other conversation.
We got it.
We get it. Yippity yappity.
We could talk for a whole other episode on that. Yeah.
But anyways, really all that I've, put forth, and I really wanted to create a universe with this project.
Yeah.
That was really important to me, was telling the story visually as much as I did with the music. And especially after working for like 1 or 2 years on something, you want to tell the story that you have to tell. And with Trust, I knew it was important for the first song to really like have its own moment, whether people cared about it or not. Like, I wanted to really like put a face to that song, and put a face to kind of like what has become like the Rebecca Black world in my shows. Totally. Choreography has become like a huge part of what I do and how I kind of tell the story. And I think Boiler Room and all of that kind of happening simultaneously, like, felt like there was even more of a moment to like have a conversation. And so making a video all about like the court of public opinion, about a song that's all about like vulnerability and in the sense of relinquishing trust, felt really cathartic and really like accurate to the character that this whole, I don't know if it's a character, it's me, like the version of myself that this project is about.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's also like the most, fun part of pop to me, is that you have the ability to live in a world that is like so unglamorous and make it really glamorous and like magical. Like a courthouse.
Magical like a courthouse.
Getting arrested.
That's what they always say.
Exactly.
It really did spark the universe of this album. I think you've really created a world that people like are excited to get lost in. And I'm excited for you that like it feels that way too on the other side. I had a really good question in my head, and then I got lost in the magic of the courthouse.
That's okay.
Oh, I wanted to ask why you chose Salvation for the title.
Oh, yeah. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Salvation came from the song Salvation, which again was a Chris, Lauren, Marcus sandwich. I was in London on my way to a session with Chris, with Marcus and Lauren before we brought the song to Chris. And I was just really like, again, I think I was deep enough in this project to the point of like knowing what I wanted to accomplish, but I didn't have a title. I didn't have like a focus point or like a greater theme. I didn't have like a song that felt like it was less about me and more about, my community. And the idea of like taking the word salvation, which is like an obvious traditional biblical term, and like making it a song for gay people, and about gayness and queerness, felt like a fun experiment. And I was like, either this will go really wrong or really right. And let's just see. So that was kind of where we started for the day. And the song like wrote itself, I think, pretty easily. And having this song about being like unashamedly queer and that being your own salvation and that being the thing that saved yourself, or having like anything or any idea about yourself or who you are or what you want to do, and that learning to harness that without the approval of anybody else is like really what the song is about. And I really liked that as an idea for the title of the project, because it felt like an encompassing moment for me and what I was learning throughout the process of making it. And I think it just became very clear that like all the songs were guided by like the same kind of idea in its own way. And from there I got to kind of like really dig out what all of that meant for me.
Yeah. I talk about this so much on here because I do think concept albums are we're straying away from that. But I love when the themes make themselves clear once you've like written songs that are authentic to you and feel good. Because it's just cool to see how like, oh, I didn't mean for those two things to tie into each other, but like that's who I was in those 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And Salvation is a great title for it, especially just like the queer music roots that you honor in the album. Like obviously like Sophie, like that is just so apparent in the album. So it's cool to have that sort of tongue-in-cheek, like the biblical reference with the salvation being the title. But
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. I mean, I grew up really agnostic and like not surrounded by religion. But I've always been like really fascinated by what it has done and all that it's left, and all the like damage and simultaneous like gifts it has seemingly brought to different people,
bad and good and in between.
I also just like am always fascinated by like cults and power and the way it like, you know, fucks with the psyche,
of course.
And any moment of like making that, you know, taking something that like has traditionally like harbored a lot of like fear and instability, especially for like a queer community, which I know my audience is gay. Like,
really?
Yeah, I know. I see what you wear to the shows. I see what you say online. I follow you on Twitter. Like,
it's apparent.
We're all here together. But that also it felt like really special to me to be able to make stuff that again is like for me and maybe unique to my experience, but that I know is also very shared. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Well, for our third track, our dessert, I'd love to know a cherry on top for this album, or honestly like a personal favorite of yours for this release.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give it to Sugar Water Cyanide,
of course.
That's the girl.
It's true.
And I think there's always been moments, like every project I always have like that one that I'm really particularly proud of or connected to. And this project genuinely is like full of them for me. I really feel so connected to every song, but Sugar Water Cyanide was one of those. It was the last one. That made it onto the record. It was like literally like second to last writing session, and what ended up being the last writing session will be on the next thing. But that was a song that came together so effortlessly, was truly like a day of play for me. Jesse St. John and Nick Weiss, Night Feelings, who produced, and Jesse's like someone I've worked with for so long, who we really have like such an easy synergy. And he was like, girl, we're doing a day with Nick. We have to.
Done.
He's fierce, trust me. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And it was actually a day to rework another song on the project called American Doll. And so we kind of like focused on that for a couple hours and pretty easily like got on the same page. And then we just tried something new, and we were definitely feeling like inspired by this kind of like Janet-y, Gwen-y, really like sugary feeling of a pop verse, and just like completely smacking people in the face with the chorus, and making something like really for the clubs. And I just walked away from that session that day with basically an almost completely finished song. Like it did not really change much from that day to what it is now. And also knowing like, I don't know if people are ever going to get this at all, but I'm obsessed with whatever we just did. And I feel like I've like done something that I've always wanted to do and accomplished something musically that I've always wanted to do. And I never thought it would be a single. Until I started kind of like playing the project for people I really love and people I trust. And it just became like really obvious that if trust was kind of the starting place, like the next moment had to be her. And it's so validating to see it being like the most streamed song right now, actively from the project, and to see people just talk about how much they are excited about it and love it.
That's even cooler that like you didn't even care if like people got it. It just like meant that much to you that you were so stoked to put it out, and like people do get it. Like they met you where you're at.
Yeah. And I think there's always like a weird experience when you have a finished project and you're trying to figure out like how to roll it out and how to present it to people. And everyone has different ideas and fears of what's going to work and what's not going to work. And like this project is full of songs that are, you know, more on the pop side and things that are more experimental. And like, I think what I've learned from my audience, if anything, is they're like, go harder, do more. We want more. Like we're ready for it. And that is the greatest gift in terms of making music.
People who are like waiting for you to push the boundaries so that they can feel okay too.
Yeah. And like they're also the ones pushing the boundaries on their side of the coin too.
Totally.
And so they're like, you better meet us where we're at, or like
keep up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really exciting. And I think has always been the kind of like artist I wanted to be and the kind of audience I wanted to have. And I think that's where a lot of pop right now is heading to. Is like artistry is proving to be eternal, and like apps are simply not.
It's true. Yeah. Good music is forever.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Okay, I have 3 final questions for you.
Yes.
Rapid fire. If your music was a candle, specifically Salvation, the album, what would it smell like?
Whoa. Ooh.
It can be a real smell or an abstract.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide if it would smell good.
It doesn't have to. Someone said bathwater once, which I loved.
I think, because I think that like this album is definitely an album for the clubs and for like driving really fast. And so I think there's definitely like a sweat. There's like a dirtiness to it. There's definitely a heavy musk. But at the same time, I think there, like, you remember that perfume, like Pink Sugar?
Oh, do I? Yeah. I was in the girls' locker room in 6th grade.
They sold it at the grocery store or something like that. Or like, it was like Pink Sugar. It had a little candy swirl on that. It would definitely smell like that if you like mixed it with like Axe body spray, I feel like.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Really good.
Wow. I'd also love to know what your favorite sound is right now, but like a life sound.
Ooh, life sound?
Yeah.
I live like above like a really busy street, and I love when like a semi like parks, like stops, like, you know, when they do that, like,
Yes.
love that sound.
I don't know if anyone's ever loved that one before.
Neither have I. But now it sounds like
We're
home.
starting that. Well, my very final question is who your ones to watch are. So who are you listening to that we should be hip on?
Ooh, what am I listening to?
I know, I'm always catching people off guard with this one.
You know who I've been really having fun listening to is this artist Raisha Rami, I think is how you pronounce it. Very cunt.
Okay.
Very cunt. Very cute.
Nice.
Really fun. I mean, I've been listening so much to the band that's opening for me on tour, Blue Hawaii.
Okay.
We met during a boiler room I did in Chicago, and they're so epic, sweetest little duo that makes like really cute dance music. Who else am I listening to?
Do you know the band Frost Children?
Of course.
I was gonna say, I feel like
they've been watched.
They are the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we love the Frost Children here.
That's awesome.
They're amazing. They actually came up for Rebecca Black and Friends event
cool.
I did.
I didn't know that.
They're so epic. And Baby Morocco.
Oh,
Loving.
yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You know.
Icon of the internet.
All the icons. Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
you.
you.
It was awesome to hear about the album. I'm stoked for tour.
Thanks.
Yeah. Good luck with it all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Oh my God. Once again, this is Ones to Watch Chef's Choice. I'm Abby Kenna and this is Rebecca Black. Listen to Salvation.
Do
Yay.
it. Bye.